amazing baritone to prove it, he welcomed him back every night he chose to come, keeping his glass filled with mild and bitter, and slipping him the odd pork pie, chicken leg, or plate of eels that required no ration book, for McGovern ran a profitable sideline on the black market. When Billy reached the corner of Cheapside and Bread Street, he looked up at St. Paul's. It would only be moments before they turned out the lights on it. For now it stood brightly, its dome a pearl against that grey ceiling of cloud. He dipped his head at it, then walked slowly on in the gathering dark as the last city lights winked off around him. It was just past 5 p.m. when he turned onto London Wall. The Globe was about 20 painted lampposts away. It was then he heard it, just before the siren started, and he could hear little else. His ear was more attuned to the sound of a plane engine than most Londoners, being as it was a sound he loved, that he craved, a tune he thought better than any of the songs he sang, especially if he could listen to it within the cockpit of a plane he was piloting. But this engine's sound did not bring him joy. It was out of synchronization, deliberately so, to throw off anti-aircraft tracking equipment. I was right and I was wrong, he thought, speeding up, risking a tumble on the darkened street. The Huns aren't coming. The Huns have come. As it happens, Ilse Magnusson was also thinking of fate just before the bombs started to fall. She'd been led there by a complex trail of thoughts, almost as complex as the music she was playing in the church of St. Giles without Cripplegate. The building itself had started her down the trail when the man who'd brought her to it, Petter, had excitedly shown her around. "And this is the tomb of the English poet John Milton," he'd said. "Do you know him?" "I do." She did. Her father, Wilhelm Magnusson, was obsessed by poetry, and Milton was a favourite, only one rank below the incomparable Goethe. So when she looked at the tomb, a quote came easily to her, in her father's voice. "Necessity and chance approach not me, and what I will is fate." She spoke the words only in her head. She really did not know so much about this Petter, only that he was 35 years old, that he had fled Czechoslovakia a week before the Germans invaded, and that he played the viola. They'd shared a table at the Lion's Corner House by Charing Cross, and when he discovered that she was a flautist, he'd invited her to play in this church with him, another exile on violin, and the church's rector on cello. She recognized that he desired her, and since she thought it a possibility she might sleep with him, part of her restraint in not quoting Milton aloud was that she'd found a lot of men were frightened by her intellect. If she did decide to take him as a lover, the last thing she'd want him to be was frightened. The main part of her restraint, though, was the memory Milton had brought of her father, whom she had not seen in 3 years, but whom she might be fated to see soon enough in their hometown of Oslo, if, as in Paradise Lost, necessity and chance did not approach, and she kept exerting her will. She would always love her father, but he had become her enemy, though he did not know that yet, and, with fortune, would not for many years. As soon as she saw him, she would lie to him. It would pain her to do so, even though it was vital that she did. It was a relief to escape such thoughts in music. It had been a long while since she'd played with others, yet if she'd been a little nervous, so had they. The priest, complete with collar and robe, was named Sandy, and proved solid, if uninspired, on the cello. Petter was a good viola player, while his friend, a Slovak called Janosch, who had no English, was an excellent violinist. So good, in fact, that Ilse was sure he was, like her, a professional, and that he probably resented having to play second violin, for of course the flute replaced the first violin in a flute quartet. It put extra pressure on her, which pleased her, as she brought metal to lips for the first time. The best quartets took years to coalesce, but the 4 of them did well enough. They eased into it with some Haydn, yet in a